talking about marketing growth and optimization, the tips and the techniques, the tricks, social media, what the role of social media is. So, what we are seeing in the current era is there is a lot of this change of strategies around marketing and its sales, and these things are happening. So organizations are focusing on how to optimize all the marketing strategies, marketing things, and how to enable the marketing growth. If I look at just to give a top head up straight away points, traditionally we were focused on product-driven activity where we were just making people aware about the product, the organization, the brand, and everything without realizing whether they will buy or not buy our product or services. What are we talking about in the respect of marketing being on the growth side means that you actually start looking at the customer journey and bring about brand awareness and follow through the customer with its journey with the organization and the product line. Traditionally, we were looking at improving the brand awareness around the budgets defined for marketing and strategies. Today, we are looking at developing series of experiments to run brand focused ads, like brand focused ads on LinkedIn or Facebook, geotagging and testing, looking at different aspects, how we can increase the growth on that aspect. So, looking at that's the background we are coming from, right? Looking at that. Ashish, how do you feel the marketing was before this era of social media and importance of data and the technology that we are seeing? How was it in those days, and where were we before that era?
Thank you for asking, Tejpal. I completely agree with you. The world is changing right in front of us. And from a marketing standpoint, I like to go back to like the first principles thinking, go back to fundamentals. How do I establish a connect with the consumer? How do I make sure there's an emotional connect? And when you go back to such fundamentals, over the years, you realize everything else, tools, they keep changing. But ultimately, the goal is being able to have that personalized, targeted relationship with the consumer. And data truly changes everything. And I strongly believe that, I've been very fortunate to had 2 startups in big data analytics space as a co-founder or a CXO position. And, as startup founder, one of the biggest challenges is, early stages is funding. You don't have a lot of money for marketing purposes. So you have to really make sure you stretch your dollars as far as possible. And that's why I like the idea of these terminologies I use very often. The magic marketing. Magical marketing is all about using emerging tech. You're talking about big data analytics. You're talking about social media. You're talking about AI, machine learning. I know that sessions today have had a lot of discussion about AI, so we don't have to go into that space today or right now. But it truly is, I believe across all the business functions you have in a company, marketing stands to benefit the most from emerging technologies. That's why I use the term magic marketing. And as far as the startups are concerned, I like the term passive marketing a lot because now you're really using social media. You're really using the power of purpose. And we can talk more about purpose later. But I'm a huge fan of building the purpose-driven enterprise because that's what connects the consumer, the employees, with your organizations. So to keep this short, I would summarize 3 points that I brought up. Number 1, magical marketing. Number 2, passive marketing. Number 3, purpose-driven marketing from branding standpoint. Thank you, Tejpal.
That's good. Very well said, Ashish. Nora, what would you like to add from your perspective? You are also owning a startup and you are working at it. So you probably are one of the best also to talk about these areas. You've gone through these things.
So Ashish has very well pointed out the highlights or the very important aspects of the emerging marketing techniques right now. And if I may just highlight a little bit more on one specific point, which is data. So in my journey with all startups, specifically startups that thrive online or have e-commerce models. Let me tell you this, data is the biggest asset you can have in this time and age. It comes before anything that you can pursue for your business. If you have customer data, you are at a head start from everyone else. And from that, you start to craft journeys to reach your target, craft your communication messages, adjust and adapt and test, and you have a very important and large starting point. Technology now is not just an enabler. So we're not talking about a channel of communication anymore. At the moment, I've been working a lot with digitally exclusive businesses, businesses that only thrive, only grow online. And if you want to do that, you have to play it right. So it's no longer just a marketing channel where you reach additional people or get more exposure on your business. No, you can have a complete business model depending on your social media handles, on your presence, on the way you portray your brand. So yeah, technology has become a mandate. It has become basically, if you're not in that game, your business doesn't have a big chance of surviving outside it.
Very well said. Very well said, Noah. So how if we look at from the past to this stage, how has this particular thing has evolved over period? How earlier the marketing strategies were carried out, and how this has changed the growth of the organization is looked from the numbers that were sales and marketing perspective, and now things are moving towards the different numbers altogether, and the growth meaning of growth is changing. So how is this happening? How is this journey? Can you just take us through, Ashish? Ashish, your voice is, your mic is on mute.
Thank you. Um, I couldn't, Norman and I were also having an offline discussion, and it's like we always just keep sharing, agreeing with each other because just so much in alignment in our thought process. Um, Times, as I mentioned earlier, Tejpal, to your question, have changed so much. Earlier, we didn't have the power. For example, I'll give you a simple example. I was working at Sears. That was 11 years ago. All right, and we had just been introduced as a world to some big data technologies like NoSQL, where you are doing um, streaming data coming in, and you are able to look into sentiment analysis at Twitter. See, this is a very typical sentiment analysis use case in marketing. I'm merging technology, I'm merging tech with the old school marketing, where you're trying to get a sense of if your shoes are doing well in the market, is the emotion in the customer really positive for a product that you have launched? Is the pricing right? What is the consumer feedback? Who's becoming more and more active on Twitter? So all those things were all very manual, very time consuming. They were not really real time. What happened after 2007 when iPhone came in? People had the power of real time information in their hands. I believe that was the movement that changed the world from marketing standpoint as well, because now a consumer shifted drastically. Now, as a corporation, as a large enterprise, as a startup, to make sure that we keep up with the consumer, we are able to connect with the consumer. We also have to become real time. We also have to become targeted, personalized, because that's what the consumer wants. They're doing their shopping, online so much more now. In fact, the generations now are looking at most of their shopping in future on their mobile phones. So there's a lot of shift happening. And what technology has done is reduce that process, which used to take weeks, sometimes months, to get analysis of their marketing campaigns to real time. Today, I know how's my new product launch is performing across different markets where I launched it. And by tonight, I can make a decision if I want to continue manufacturing some more of those products and launch them as soon as possible. That's used to take, months in the previous stage, if you call. That's just one example. There's many more examples like that I can talk about, but I'll pass it on to Nora, and I'm sure she has many examples as well.
Yes, I definitely echo that. We are taking much more informed decisions. I mean, as marketeers, we are privileged to be doing business in this time. But if I just summarize everything about how things have changed, let me say under one umbrella that everything became from mass to customized. So your message used to go to a lot of people if you just broadcast a TV ad, for instance. You are reaching a very big crowd in hope to filter this down to a smaller crowd who would be interested, eventually engaged, and buy your product. Right now, every single message you are sending is customized to its receiver. So your same promotional message, for instance, can be said in 5 different wordings, each of them going to its specific customer. And if you look at the customer themselves, we used to segment people by very broad targets. So you would say, I am targeting BC class who are in a medium social class, females in that geography who have that lifestyle. That persona doesn't work anymore. You need to build people, like think of the target like specific people. Think of how she thinks, how his day was like, what do they prefer, what hobbies do they have, what dreams do they have, and according to that you tailor your product, your message, and everything along the journey to the specified customer. So that definitely is a privilege and also a burden on you as a marketeer to be able to cater to everyone's very specific needs.
I think I like to just to further echo what Lauren just said. Hyper personalization has become such a top priority for CMOs across the world now, and just having the privilege of working with some of the largest companies in the world, I can assure you that of course, data is a foundation for all of that. But being able to have those customized, real-time, hyper-personalized, targeted promotions or messaging that you're sending to your customer, where each customer is become a segment. So that level of personalization, I think, to add to what Nora is saying, is really what the organizations are already been doing in the last few years. And those who are still struggling with setting up a data lake, they're ages behind. They really need to pick up their game as soon as possible. I think that's another message I like to convey on top of that. Tejpal?
Great, Nora and Ashish. Very well put. I think the change that has happened over the years that we have seen, from bombarding a broadcast message to a personalized niche messages coming through, the game has changed. Social media is one of the most enabler in this game. If you look at earlier, the organization or the companies were actually sending messages like in a blind, completely blind, whether this message is relevant or not to any customer base. So from crores of viewers, they were actually looking at to target few hundreds. Now, from the upcoming age of social media and awareness of coming around that, you are looking at personalized messages coming through. So one of the biggest gainers, if we look at, is the penetration of mobile devices. That has started changing the game completely, because now you are at a stage where a collection of data, which was so difficult earlier, is now becoming so easy. The data is at your disposal to take the advantage of it, and hence you are able to, in a situation, you are able to move towards a personalized experience and personalized messaging. That's where, and this is where the game is changing. But for the organizations to look at the numbers, earlier they were looking at ROI numbers of, okay, I have spent so many worth of billions of dollars in advertisement, and out of that I have gained so much of business out of this 1 year of advertisement. Now the game is changing in the sense that, okay, I have spent X amount of particular piece of dollar into a certain segment of the customer, and whether I am able to acquire a customer in that form and retain it and maintain it. So this is where the major change has started happening. Instead of the big numbers versus small experiments, that's where the game is changing, and that's where the growth of the marketing strategies are prevailing towards that. Great, great. That's great. So, coming into let's carry on because I already jumped onto this particular point of social media and all that. So, how do you think this social media is bringing in the awareness around the sales, the marketing, the growth of the organization? How is the content per se on the social media? What importance the content brings out in this particular zone? Nora, would you like to answer that?
So social media definitely plays a more important role in some markets versus others. I'm speaking to you from Egypt here, and I can tell you that most businesses get 60 to 70% of their conversions from social media handles and not their websites or e-commerce stores. And the reason being that the human's nature to seek another person talking back to them rather than a machine is still there, regardless of the digital era. And for us as brands to capitalize on that and create meaningful experiences for them that guide them and inform them and engage with them is very, very important. So in social media also, you get the leverage of not just, putting a banner or putting some information about your products. You are relating to your customer on a very personal level daily and multiple times a day. You are indulging their visual, their mental senses all the time, and you have it at a click of a finger, and you can get their response instantly. So creating experiences, meaningful experiences for them on the social media is a deal breaker. And a very important part to focus on for all small or medium-sized brands is a company's customer service abilities, because that gets served through social media. So let me tell you that an unhappy customer can be converted into an extremely loyal customer just by handling them right. They can be even a more long-term customer for you than someone who was not happy in the first place. Should you handle them correctly? Should you take their feedback correctly on your social media? Give them back what they need, show them that you appreciate, and social media gives you the platform and the channel to do that. So it's a very, very important, if not the most important channel right now.
Great, great. Thanks, Noah, for giving the insights. Ashish, would you like to add on that?
Yeah, absolutely agree with Nora. And I think, there was a study that we conducted a couple of years back, Nora and Tejpal, and this was a study focused mostly on the US population. And what we did was we had the study conducted for thousands of people, and who were sharing their experiences with social media interaction for corporations, right? So large corporations are having social media handles, but uh, how often do they respond? How quickly they respond to difficult challenges, or how engaged they are? And the numbers we saw were not exactly very encouraging. And that's something that I took away from that study, was that there's still a lot that companies have to do in terms of focusing on their social media for customers, because and it's changed from last couple of years till now. I think that has grown a lot. COVID changed the whole world, frankly, because the world moved towards online so much more. Companies are doing a lot more transformation now from a digital standpoint. But the customer experience you talked about is so important, because a lot of companies focus only on customer acquisition. What they don't realize is you really need to have customer retention in the upper 90s to really be a successful company. Otherwise, you won't stay successful very long. So that retention aspect becomes very crucial. Customer acquisition is important. Social media is one of those tools that we have as large corporations, as small startups, that brings all of these things from a fundamental marketing standpoint all together. You get to have a direct communication with your consumer. You can have real time, as Nora just mentioned. You can have that engagement with each consumer directly on a personalized level. You can transform their experience. You can look through the customer journey and create those using design thinking approaches, those customer models, and really target your audience. Social media enables all that. So I believe that it's one of the most powerful tools in the hand of a marketeer in today's world. And especially now that I'm here in India right now, it's such a powerful tool where influencers are being used quite a lot for making sure that they could truly bring the products to market and get that kind of an awareness. So there's a lot of power in that social media reach and engagement with the consumer, to answer your question as well, Tejpal.
Yeah, right, right. That's very much true, Ashish. Very well said. Social media is indeed playing a major role in the marketing game. What I also see is, um, if you know Dave McClure, an entrepreneur, angel investor of San Francisco, he coined the terminology around triple A, triple R. Acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, referral, and awareness. And social media is coming in and reinventing all this again, right, in a different form completely, and changing the whole perception, how you actually look at all this. You're changing the organization's thought and perspective completely, and how the growth is perceived is changed altogether, right? Instead of just looking at revenue, you start realizing the growth not only means revenue, but acquiring and retaining. Not acquiring just, but retaining your existing customer base. And what is changing with this social media coming into play? It's become so personalized. Everybody is so personal nowadays in this thing, that the organization's mindset, thought process has changed from the big pieces, segments, to a smaller set, smaller chunks, and probably to an individual in certain segments of the product and services. That's where we are heading towards. Great, great. That's beautifully. Actually, the change that technology has brought in this particular zone is really beautiful, and how the technology is enabling all this is mind blowing. The speed at which this is being enabled is another aspect to look at. Yesterday's in the decade back, we were looking at data collection happening over days and weeks. That's what you were putting out, Ashish. Now it is matter of minutes and hours, and you can, and with the background of AI, you can actually make sense of that data very quickly,
Absolutely.
rather than just acquiring the data, and then it helps you take the rightful decisions. Good, good. That's great. So, just share a couple of your experience. Nora, do you have some experience to share how this, in your case, social media has helped enabled you to go forward with your customers much better than the earlier days?
Yes, well, we have spoken about how marketing has changed over time, but let me maybe highlight from the experiences I had, especially with SMEs, what common mistakes are there. So let me start by saying that Ashish has just threw the light on a very important concept, which is acquisition versus retention. And this is one of the major mistakes that a lot of people, especially small businesses, they jump at, because you are kind of tempted to throw media money and get customers and keep that wheel going. But there is no way out of building a marketing funnel to sustain your business. And that funnel includes three major stages. The first stage is awareness. The customer needs to be aware about your brand. And the second stage is engagement. They need to engage and speak back to you. And the third stage is retention. And if they don't go through that funnel, you will have customers today, but you will not be able to continue doing that for a long time. Because as you grow as a business and try to sustain yourself, you will find that a retained customer costs you multiples less than an acquired customer. Your acquired customer is probably jumping from one brand to another, while your retained customer is receiving every new variant or other product you're launching with effortlessly from you. So that is a very, very important learning. The second learning would be small businesses always deprioritize technology. So you have you're just starting up, you have limited resources, completely understandable. But when you prioritize, now you need to understand that technology, information, and your digital presence is going to be your enabler to grow. It's not a step or building block that you keep for later. You collect data now, you digitalize now, you build your funnels now so that you can become this big enterprise and start building your bigger teams and your entire business functions and so on. So those would be the two major, my 2 cents on that topic, let's say.
Great, great. That's great advice. Ashish, I would like you to also share some experiences of yours because you have also been in two of the startups, apart from being with one of the biggest organization in the IT.
Absolutely. So we already talked about acquisition, retention. I like to share uh, approach that I really, really enjoy. And I talked about passive marketing earlier. You know, it's so important to leverage your social media handles because you can you can think about channels are very important, right? Distribution is very important for startups, for any corporation. But you can think about creating your organization architecture such that the business architecture should enable infinite business models. That's the way I look at it, right? I want to be able to have regular interaction with consumers. I want to bring that awareness. From awareness standpoint, I really appreciate thought leadership. And this doesn't just apply to small corporations or small startups, but also large corporations. So a few of the things that, for example, we have done successfully is to grow from zero to $100 million practices in a very short period of time. That's very big success, even for a large corporation, because we're trying to go into different markets, which is what we have done. We're trying to really scale from zero to $100+ million, which is very important because there's no point going a direction if you can't scale it. I strongly believe in that too. So it's important that we are able to use these passive marketing tactics of thought leadership articles, building really good content and being able to share that on social media to build strong relationship and connect with the consumer, creating a branding for yourself, which is really purpose driven. Again, going back to purpose driven because in the world where sustainability, climate change, there are some topics that employees, citizens, everybody's a lot more aware of. I'm a lot more aware of these talks today than I was 10 years ago. I think the whole society is. So as a society, we are maturing. I think we are more cognizant of what's better for our health and for the health of our planet and our society. What is it that a company can do to make sure they can bring awareness of their own actions that are going to help grow that and build that purpose and share that purpose with everybody else. So there is a connection, again, emotional connection with the consumer and the employees, ultimately trying to have that relationship that can take further. Because end of the day, the price is not gonna keep your or retain your customer. It's your values and much more deeper emotional connect, which is going to retain and your customers, your employees, and also retain and build new customers and employees. So I think those are the few things I want to add, which I believe are very important for organizations as they think marketing from their perspective. Teshwal?
Great, very well said, very well put. Good to share the experiences. I think I would put 2 points out here is that one, the social media became the enabler for the organization to experiment the strategies, marketing strategies, and sales strategies really fast and get the result and change the strategies accordingly to find the right path and right balance to find the customer, require the customer. Two, follow through them with the journey, the customer's journey, how the customer is prevailing and retaining, and what is the value that the customer is looking for from them with respect to the products and services. And that's where things have evolved. I think it has not evolved. I would say it is maturing enough to become more customer centric rather than marketing centric. And that's where the understanding has started coming up. For example, you must have probably seen results like Spotify, how Spotify is leveraging the data of its customers and giving the experience backwards. And that's where the all these inputs, the social media and these things, plus mobile devices have played a very very big role in converging all of this into the zone. That's where I see the map of the customer journey is becoming important than it was earlier days. That's what has changed. Okay, great. So how do we perceive, so from this point onwards, considering that there is so much of change and so much of personalization is happening towards the customer, towards the deliveries, towards segmentation, towards identification, how do you think in future, what is it that we were, remember we were used to say that customer loyalty points and all those games were there from a decade ago or so. How is this mindscape or how is this landscape changing towards that? Ashish, I would like you to answer on that.
There are companies that believe in customer loyalty cards. I'm talking specifically for cards right now, and there are some who believe that loyalty programs is customers. We don't really need to have a card for a small segment. It's a very interesting topic, and there's so much debate happening in boardrooms about should we launch a loyalty card program or not. So each their own. Obviously, they have their own missions and vision, and they approach that way. If you are looking for that connect with customer, because you recognize that there's top 20% who are bringing 80% of your business. So you really want to take care of that 20% segment who regularly comes into shopping, who are really loyal customers. How do you take care of them? How do you make sure that they are, and a lot of that, I would say that in a way, the old school method of handing out a card and then swiping it in the stores it's just really changed now because of marketing, digital marketing capabilities. You know everything about your customer today because what their shopping behaviors are. In fact, you can predict what they're going to buy. And I'm sure you know about Target such a story 10 years ago when they could predict if somebody's going to, if nobody in the world knows a shopper is actually pregnant, she hasn't disclosed to anybody else, but she was getting coupons and different kind of promotions because Target knew, Target Corporation based in the US, that she's pregnant. So that's just data. All being able to look at the data and being able to analyze. So these are actual success stories where the father of the girl goes fighting at the Target store that how dare you send this promotional pamphlet for pregnancy products for my daughter? She is just a kid. And then later he comes back to apologize. Oh, I didn't know she's pregnant. I found out now. So, those are real stories of corporations having that kind of data and capability to make those, data insights to make those decisions. And I think that's why the world has changed so much. And, really being able to apply all that. And I think that's why marketing is shifting so much. Ultimately, we really have to focus on the consumer. I think that's where the whole story begins and the whole story ends. I mean, at the end of the day, a corporation has to make sure that they are, building that relationship with the consumer using whatever tech or emerging tech out there and ensuring that they are using these channels to leverage the most. Did I answer your question completely, Tejpal?
Yeah, very well, very well. Thank you, Ashish. And Nora, I would like you to also add up on this from your experience perspective.
Yeah, I think definitely Ashish said it very precisely and beautifully. It all starts with the customer, ends at the customer. But maybe I'll just add a little, one more pointer. And it's a bit off topic specifically on marketing, but more on a business level. So in that time of digital customization and the speed we discussed earlier, what you need to reflect back on is your speed versus the market. So you as a business, if you are a small to medium-sized company, you already have that leverage because of your size, and you get to move and make quick business decisions and implement them without a very long SOP or logistics and so on. And if you are a big organization, then you need to look back at your process and see how you can eliminate the factors which slow you down in decision making, because that's the only way you can actually keep up in that race with everyone else.
Good, good, very well said. In fact, what you are pointing towards is agility in marketing and optimization of the marketing strategies. How quickly
Yeah.
you can decide, you can understand what's the outcome coming out, and how quickly you can change the course to make it beneficial for you. Great, great.
Absolutely.
Moving at the speed of the customer.
Yes.
Mr. Singh, we do have two questions. I'm sorry I'm intervening. We just have 2 minutes left for the session, but I would really like you to quickly address the two questions from the audience.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so yes, we see two questions. So first one is how is social media marketing is emerging as the most vital element of evolving customer engagement optimization? Ashish, would you like to take that on?
Can you repeat the question, please? Tejpal?
Sure. How is social media marketing is emerging as the most vital element of evolving customer engagement and its optimization?
So we talked about that, I think, briefly, talking about how social media marketing is so important, why, and it's emerging as well. A lot of businesses initially thought that you start with one channel in social media. Now you're looking at social commerce. I think we haven't talked much about social commerce here, but in emerging markets, I'm talking China and some other emerging countries where the markets are significant growth aspects. You can look at being able to market products in video games, in social interactions with influencers. I think the social commerce, I'm not talking, so see, making a decision, retailer commerce, going to stores, that is becoming then moving towards e-commerce, which is you're doing online shopping, moving to now you're doing mobile shopping. And now I'm, you know, evolving into social commerce where you're doing social media interactions, just doing that kind of shopping channels and being able to purchase. Even with video games, you can do that. You can encourage customers to buy things. You're moving in the world of metaverse in next uh, 5 to 10 years. And in metaverse, the world will be very different from shopping, being able to market products as well. So it's constantly evolving. It's emerging as the question you asked the question. And I think we need to also be agile and move the speed of the consumer as we are marketing our products and going to all those different channels as we discussed. Tejpal?
Great, great. That's again, a great question. There's another question, which is Nora, this is for you. Which are the new social media platforms you expect will build momentum?
Well, I think we've all been witnessing the news of the loss of Facebook these past 2 weeks, so we can know for sure that something is changing there. And as Mark Zuckerberg rightly mentioned, that a lot of customers or users have migrated to something like TikTok. We are not sure yet whether this is something which is going to be the norm, it's the new trend, or this is going to Facebook will quickly recover from that. But at the moment, definitely Facebook, Instagram, YouTube are the top channels in terms of brand engagement. And I'm sure that with the immersion of the metaverse, everything's going to change. We're going to see new immersive experiences that will let you touch the brand with all your senses. And that's going to be very interesting on how we can implement and engage completely different level of engagement. So I think we're all looking forward to that.
Great, great. I think I would like to just sum it up in the sense that with the metaverse coming into play and people realizing that indeed there is a lot of happenings that will happen around that area, and how our perception towards marketing, towards acquiring the customer or customer acquiring the services will change. The experience will change, and this is where things are moving ahead. And the experience of the not these limited social media, but as Ashish was pointing out, it will become more like a social commerce rather than just a limited set of experience in this world. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I think we are covered with the questions. Bharti?
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for yet again moderating a wonderful session. And thank you so much, Mr. Chandra and Mr. Osali, for sharing your views and not only that, but answering the questions that our audience had. It was a pleasure to have you, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much.